The Dallas Cowboys just made a massive move, and if you blinked, you might have missed it because this trade is going to completely reshape how this defense operates next season. And honestly, I cannot believe we are finally seeing Jerry Jones and the front office step up and do something aggressive. So before we dive into all the details, and trust me, there is a lot to break down here, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now because this channel covers every single Cowboys update the moment it happens. And if you are not subscribed, you are going to miss the next big move that could happen any day now. So let us get into this because the Dallas Cowboys have officially acquired Rashan Gary from the Green Bay Packers, and the price tag is what is going to blow your mind. We are talking about a late round pick in the 2027 draft, which means Dallas essentially got this guy for almost nothing. And when you look at what they are getting in return, this feels like highway robbery in the best possible way. Now, let me paint the picture for you because this trade did not come out of nowhere. The Cowboys were in heavy pursuit of Max Crosby. We all knew that. We all saw the reports. And when Baltimore swooped in and grabbed Crosby on Friday night, a lot of fans, including myself, were sitting there wondering what in the world is Dallas going to do now, because the defense last year was a disaster. And if you watch those games, you know exactly what I am talking about. The pass rush was non-existent. And when Micah Parsons went down with that injury late in the season, it exposed just how thin this roster really was. So the pressure was on for the front office to make something happen. And here is what nobody is talking about. This Rashan Gary move might actually be better for the Cowboys long term than Max Crosby would have been. And I know that sounds crazy, but hear me out because there is more to this story than just the headline. Rashan Gary is 28 years old, and over the last 2 seasons, this man has racked up 15 sacks, which is production you absolutely need on the edge. And yes, I know what you were thinking. 15 sacks in 2 years is not the same as what Crosby brings to the table, but here's the thing. Crosby would have cost the Cowboys a fortune in terms of draft capital and cap space, and Gary comes at a fraction of that cost, which means Dallas now has resources left over to address all the other holes on this roster. And trust me, there are plenty of holes to fill. We are talking about off-ball linebacker. We are talking about safety. We are talking about cornerback. This defense needs help everywhere. And the beautiful part about this trade is that it does not handcuff the Cowboys from making those additional moves. Now, some of you might remember that Rashan Gary was actually on the field with Micah Parsons when Green Bay acquired him last year. So these two have already played together. They already know each. And that chemistry factor is something you cannot put a price tag on, because when you bring in a guy who understands how Parsons operates and can complement his skill set, that is when you start seeing a defense transform. And the crazy part is the Packers were basically looking to dump Gary. At this point, reports indicate that Green Bay saves roughly $11 million against the cap with this move, which tells you everything you need to know about where that franchise is headed. They are reshuffling, they are clearing out contracts, and Dallas was right there to take advantage of the situation. Now let us talk about what this means for the defensive line, because the Cowboys also have Kenny Clark on that roster, and guess what? Kenny Clark and Rashan Gary were teammates in Green Bay, so now you have 2 former Packers reunited in Dallas, which creates an interesting dynamic because these guys know how to play alongside each other, they understand each other's tendencies, and when you can build that kind of familiarity on a defensive front, it accelerates the learning curve significantly, and I think that is something a lot of people are overlooking right now. The Cowboys are not just adding random pieces, they are adding guys who have history together, and that matters more than you might think, especially when you are trying to turn around a defense that was as bad as Dallas was last year. Now, here is where things get really interesting, because this trade tells us something about the Cowboys' philosophy moving forward. They took a big swing at Max Crosby, and when that did not work out, they did not panic, they did not overpay for another option. They found value in the market and they pounced on it. And that is the kind of smart football decision making that we have been begging this front office to display for years, because for so long it felt like the Cowboys were either doing nothing or doing something stupid. And this feels different, this feels calculated, this feels like a team that actually has a plan and is executing it step by step. But wait, there is more, because this is just the beginning of what should be a very active period for Dallas. We still have the draft coming up, and there is a ton of talent available at the positions the Cowboys need most. So when you combine this Gary trade with whatever they do in the draft, suddenly this roster starts looking a whole lot different than it did a few weeks ago. And I want to be clear about something. This is not me saying the Cowboys are Super Bowl favorites all of a sudden. No, that would be ridiculous. What I'm saying is that the gap between where Dallas is and where they need to be is shrinking. And moves like this are how you close that gap. You do not do it overnight. You do it one smart decision at a time, and bringing in Rashan Gary for a late round pick in 2027 is absolutely a smart decision. Now, some league insiders have suggested that the Cowboys are not done done yet, and that we could see additional moves at linebacker and in the secondary before the new league year officially kicks off. And if that happens, then we are looking at a completely revamped defense, which is exactly what this team needs. Because let me be honest with you, the offense is fine. The offense can score points. The problem has always been on the other side of the ball. And if the Cowboys can fix that, then they are right back in the conversation as a legitimate contender in the NFC. And here is where I need to ask you something, because I really want to know what you think about all of this. Do you believe Rashan Gary is enough to fix the pass rush, or do you think Dallas still needs to make another move at edge rusher? Because there are different schools of thought on this. Some people believe Gary plus a healthy Micah Parsons is going to be more than enough to generate pressure, while others think the Cowboys should still be pursuing someone like Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. And both arguments have merit, because Gary is a proven player, but Hendrickson has been one of the most consistent pass rushers in the league for several years now. The question is whether Dallas wants to spend that kind of money on an older player, or if they would rather allocate those resources elsewhere. And I think based on this Gary trade, we have our answer. The Cowboys are prioritizing value and versatility over star power and big names. And honestly, I think that is the right approach for where this team is at right now. Now, let us talk about the locker room impact, because whenever you bring in a new player, especially one with Gary's pedigree, there is going to be an adjustment period, and the Cowboys have to manage that carefully, because you do not want to disrupt the chemistry that already exists, but at the same time, you need to integrate these new pieces as quickly as possible. And I think having that prior connection with Micah Parsons is going to make this transition so much smoother, because Parsons can vouch for Gary. He can help him get acclimated to the system, and he can make sure that everyone is on the same page from day one. And that is invaluable, because we have all seen situations where talented players come to a new team and it just does not work out for whatever reason. But I do not think that is going to be the case here, because the Cowboys clearly did their homework on this. They knew what they were getting, and they pulled the trigger at the right time. And speaking of timing, can we just appreciate how quickly this all came together? Because the Max Crosby news hit on Friday, and by the time the new league year started, the Cowboys already had their backup plan in place. And that tells me the front office was prepared for multiple scenarios, which is exactly how you are supposed to operate in the NFL. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket. You have to have contingencies. And clearly Dallas had Rashan Gary on their radar the entire time, just waiting to see how the Crosby situation played out. And when it became clear that Baltimore was going to land Crosby, the Cowboys pivoted immediately and got their guy. And that kind of decisiveness is what separates good organizations from great ones, because in this league, hesitation kills you. If you wait too long, someone else is going to swoop in and take the player you wanted. And Dallas was not about to let that happen again. Now, I want to address something that I have been seeing in the comments on other videos, because some people are saying this move is not aggressive enough and that the Cowboys should have done more. And I understand that frustration. I really do, because we have been waiting for years for this team to go all in and win a championship. But here is the reality of the situation. You cannot just throw money at every problem and expect it to work out. The salary cap exists for a reason. And the Cowboys have to be smart about how they allocate their resources, because if you overspend on one position, you are going to be weak at another. And that is how you end up in cap hell, unable to make moves when you need to. So yes, Rashan Gary is not as flashy as Max Crosby, but he is a really good player who fits what Dallas is trying to do. And when you get that kind of player for a late round pick 2 years from now, that is called winning the trade. And the Cowboys won this trade. There is no other way to look at it. But here's the thing that excites me the most, and I saved this for now because I wanted to build up to it. The Cowboys are not done. This is just the first domino to fall. And when you look at the draft and the remaining free agents available, there is still so much work to be done and so many opportunities to improve this roster. And I genuinely believe we are going to see at least 2 or 3 more significant moves before the season starts, whether that is through trades or free agent signings or draft picks. The Cowboys are clearly in acquisition mode, and that is music to my ears, because for too long this team has been content to sit back and hope things work out, and that strategy has gotten them nowhere. But this year feels different. This year feels like the front office finally understands what it takes to compete at the highest level, and if they continue on this path, I really think we could be looking at a special season in Dallas. Now, let me give you my final thoughts on this whole situation, because I know I have been talking for a while, but this is important, and I want to make sure you understand the full picture of what is happening here. The Dallas Cowboys just made a trade that addresses their biggest need at a price point that allows them to continue building elsewhere. And when you step back and look at the big picture, that is exactly what this team needed to do. They needed to find help on the edge without mortgaging their future. And that is precisely what they accomplished with this Rashan Gary trade. And yes, there there are still questions to be answered. Yes, there are still moves to be made. Yes, there is still work to be done. But for the first time in a long time, I am actually optimistic about where this franchise is headed because the decision making has been sound, the strategy has been clear, and the execution has been on point. And if the Cowboys can maintain that level of competence throughout the rest of the offseason, then I think we are all going to be very happy with where this team ends up. So here's what I need from you right now. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about the Rashan Gary trade. Is this enough for the Cowboys pass rush, or do they need to do more? And while you are at it, if you have not already, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we are going to be covering every single move the Cowboys make throughout the offseason, and you do not want to miss any of it. Trust me, things are about to get very interesting in Dallas, and I want you to be here for all of it. So hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and I will see you in the next video where we break down what the Cowboys should do next, because believe me, there is so much more to talk about, and I cannot wait to share it all with you. Let us go, Cowboys, and let us ride this offseason all the way to a roster that can finally compete for a championship, because that is what we all want, and that is what this team is building towards, one smart move at a time.